My name is Olivia Rovinescu, and I'm the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning here at Concordia University. And I work with a lot of graduate students and with a lot of new faculty members in helping them to design their own lessons and courses and doing course redesign. And so we felt that this would be a session that would be really useful in the Career Corner for getting you started with planning your own lessons. I'm not sure if some of you have already done that as teaching assistants, or some of you have already taught part-time. How many of you have already taught courses where you had to do lesson planning? So a lot of you have already done that. So by way of starting, I'd like to ask, what do you think are some of the elements that go into an effective lesson? What are some of the elements that you have found? Yes?
Having specific learning outcomes in mind ahead of time that you tie everything into.
Yeah, knowing exactly where you're going and what your outcomes are and what it is that you're hoping that your students will be able to achieve. Absolutely. What else have you found is really important in a lesson? Yes?
A lot of the time linked very much to that are a number of questions, central questions that you're going to use to stimulate thought among your students and eventually address and resolve the thought totally.
Exactly, like those pivotal questions, those essential questions that drive the lesson, the bigger picture. And I have a slide to that effect where there's all kinds of stuff that they need to know and important to know, but what is it? What is at the essence of your lesson? Anything else that you've realized, whether in teaching or in being a student? All these years you've been students, so you've experienced good lessons and you've experienced lessons that didn't come off so well. Anything else?
I think that you have to be concrete. You have to have examples of what you're talking to.
To be very concrete, like good explanation skills. So important, exactly. Yes, you had your hand up.
Well, this is kind of tied into that actually as well. Just make it as hands-on as possible. So they're doing most of the learning rather than you doing most of the teaching, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So it's hands-on. They're really getting the opportunity to be involved in the learning. It's not about the teacher articulating for the students, but it's helping the students to uncover the content for themselves. So critical. And it's like, how do you design for that? That's what's so important, is how do you actually implement it and train yourself to incorporate that as an essential feature. Anything else that's a part of a successful lesson for you? Yes?
I think sometimes it's important to tell students why we're doing what we're doing, so that they get a bigger picture rather than that.
The why, exactly. So one of the things that I want to start off with is thinking about, what do you think is the percentage between the in-class and out-of-class? What might be a good balance for you in terms of how much, what percentage of planning and classroom activity should be done in the class and how much out of class? Any guesses? Because what we do in class is really like the tip of the iceberg. So when we're thinking about lesson design, we're not just thinking about this moment in time when we're in front of the students, but it's what else they're going to be doing. What else are, what assignments, what reading, field trips, group work, all that other stuff that is beneath the surface. So it's been suggested that for every 1 hour of classroom time, there should be 1.5 to 3 hours of other kinds of work that you need to design for them. So it's either that they're reading in preparation for the class that's coming up, or it's stuff that's related to what they need to do to take from this that they've done in class so they can further augment it, that they can work with it and do something more with it. Because often what you do in class and what you lecture the students, they will forget very, very quickly. In fact, some studies show that we can only pay attention really for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes max. So, they need to do something with it. They need to get their hands into it in some kind of way, whether to discuss it with somebody else, to do something with it in order for the learning to be perpetuated and for it to go into like deep learning. So it's not just surface. And also, this is also a good measure to how long should it take you to plan something. For every hour, it's suggested that maybe, like you need to spend another hour. Sometimes when I first started teaching, I didn't spend like 1.5 to 3 hours. I would spend like 8 hours for each lesson that I was doing. And it was like insane. I was like completely burnt out. So, like when you have a few classes that you're planning for, you have to really give yourself some deadlines because otherwise it's going to eat up all your time. And it becomes quite stressful if you also have research and, and families. So, it's a good indication that if it's getting to a point where it's like 1.5 to 2 hours of planning, that's probably, really good. So it's just the metaphor of that iceberg, that what's in the class is just one little part of a whole picture. So, there's some kind of strategies that you could use that helps in this process to create environments that support the learning in and out of class, whether you do it using websites, whether there's online, whether you're expecting students to get together to work on projects together. Working on projects is so critical in terms of the development of team skills, which a lot of the industries require. In engineering, in many fields, even in the social sciences and the humanities, require people to be able to work together on projects. So this is key. So design what the research shows, to design about 120 hours of learning, not just the 39 hours, but a lot more in terms of preparation for working in groups and getting the research that's required and that sort of thing. So you want to provide a lot of opportunities for the students to be able to do this kind of work. When you're designing instruction, you may want to think about it in terms of how are you going to engage the students? What are you going to do to get them motivated? So the question of engagement is really key now in the literature. That it helps with student retention of information. It helps to retain students in school. They don't ask themselves, why am I here? Because they're motivated. So finding motivational items to include is very important. You want to spend a percentage of your time informing the students. Information, questions that you want to introduce them to, concepts, the part that you are giving to them, or the part that they're learning through the materials that they're reading. Then you want to give them a whole lot of opportunities to practice. Practice with feedback. Feedback from you, feedback from others, peer feedback. Learning has to be kind of a reciprocal process. So you're getting, you're receiving, and you're giving, and then at the end, of course, is the assessment part, the grading, which as much as the students don't like it and we don't like doing it, it's an essential part of what we do as educators is to assess the learning. But just so again, this image just to remind us that the practice part really is huge, and designing for that practice is so important.